Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to WCS European Challenger. We are getting ready to move into our last quarterfinal match here in the playoffs. My name is Fear Dragon, and I am joined by Nathanius as we jump into another Zerg versus Zerg.
Yeah, oh, you know, just can't get enough of those ZvZ EOs. You know, it's a great start to balanced breakfast. Get them in there with some 2% milk.
2% milk?
Yeah.
I drink almond milk, so.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. Are you lactose intolerant, or you have like?
I am allergic to milk.
You have a very
It's This isn't like some like I
didn't mean to get all personal on you.
I don't like to drink milk because I think that.
I was just trying to compare ZvZ to cereal, man. That's all I was going for. I'm sorry.
Well, you gotta be so serial about it. All right, let's take a look at that bracket and see the games that we've already seen today. Recap a little bit. We did see earlier on that Cyril took that 3-0. Lambo took a 3-0. Euthermal took a 3-0. Who takes the 3-0 in this series, Nate?
I don't know.
All right, well, it's going to be Elazer versus Nerchio. So here's the thing. Before I started looking and researching like these two players a little bit, I was like, you know what? I think that Elazer's been having a bit of a rough year. I'm normally a big Elazer fan, but I'm not so sure. And then I saw that actually he recently beat Nerchio in the kind of Clash Invitational. And I was like, you know what? I'm starting to get a little bit more faith. 3-1'd him.
That was very recent, right?
Yeah, and Elazer's been killing it. Elazer's been killing it in his group, doing great there. I actually think that we might be seeing a bit of a return to form for Elazer.
Okay. I cast Nerchio play a ZvT yesterday where he did look very clean. But
Nerchio's been looking good as well. Yeah.
So,
you know what my biggest hope here is that I do believe that this is not going to be a 3-0. I'm ready to eat my words on that.
I actually do think this will be the first one that's not 3-0. Nerchio's about to do the Cyril builds to him and 3-0 him now.
Now that I've said that, it's going to actually just be immediately like Elazer tries to take a hit in the third base, and then Nerchio decides to bling bangling all in.
He does the 14 pull drone spine rush. Yo.
Oh Lord, yeah. All right, well guys, we're getting started with game number 1. It's going to be on Acid Plant to get things started off. Both these players represent the same country. Only one of them can move on to that semifinals. This used to be like a really old school rivalry also. Like the Nerchio used to sort of be the kryptonite for Elazer. It's just every single time these two guys would play, it just always, Elazer would hit Nerchio and then he'd struggle and ended up getting knocked out.
It's not fair. He's a bully. He's an amazing Starcraft player. He's not really a bully, guys. He would share his toys on the playground if he was still in elementary school, I imagine. In the top left, our red Zerg player, he is Nerchio.
You know, for some players, we like to say, you know, they've won hundreds of thousands of dollars in tournaments and everything. For Nerchio, we're like, he's not a bully, guys. He shares toys on the playgrounds.
You know what? I'm just trying to give these people the cold, hard-hitting analysis that they crave from WCS Challenger.
Of course. All right, and spine down here on the bottom right, we have our blue Zerg player. It is Team Clash's Elazer.
It's a problem with hosting the events, Ravi. I'm going to be hosting in Montreal. I'm not going to be casting, which means I got to get it all out of my system now. This is it.
Now.
For you guys, you're like, oh, this is the warm-up, and then we do it at the event. But for me, I'm like, no, this is my last chance to say something stupid during a game of StarCraft. That's going to be it, man. This is the last Challenger. Last Challenger season.
Last season of Challenger in 2018.
Right. Tomorrow might be some of the last.
This is the last quarterfinal match that we will ever get to see of 2018 Challenger. Europe.
Like, you know
I know, we still have North America.
Right?
Still have North America tomorrow. You know, Elazer is only $600 shy of 200,000. According to that stat that we saw earlier, that is only $600 short. This, I think actually making it to the playoffs has already taken him there, though.
Has it, though? Did you crunch those numbers?
I have not crunched those numbers.
In Control has, he's not in my ear anymore.
Jeff is crunching the numbers, but he's not going to tell us.
No. He told me after the last cast that he wants to leave me out. He said something about pushing me out of the bird's nest to see if I can fly. I don't know.
To see if you can crunch the numbers.
Yeah. It's ZvZ, guys. It's the same thing so far. We're waiting for something to change a little bit. Every matchup is very similar to, I think TVT might be the only mirror that doesn't do this, but it's like in PvP, it's like there's literally nothing to say until the cybernetic score is done.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
Because everybody does the same exact thing. ZvZ can be different, but it's like, well, they both went hatch, gas, pool,
yep,
or whatever.
Both players going to be taking their third bases. There is a Bailey nest down for Elazer, and there it is for Nerchio. So, but yeah, I was going to say, like, there are all small little things that happen. Both these players did get up a handful of links. I think there are 6 out for Elazer.
Yeah.
Should be fine defending this.
Yeah, so the thing is, it's like, do you send yours to harass? Do you send yours to defend? If you send more to harass, that's nice. You can sometimes force to cancel, but we don't see that here. Things that we're going to be looking out for. Drones. The lair, Roach-Warren evolution chambers. At this point, anything is still possible as far as like the Ling Bane Wars.
Yeah.
And when both players open with speed and you take that third base, it actually just does come down to, does somebody want to be crazy aggressive? We see now Elazer scouts the Bane nest, so he knows everything that's going on here so far. Didn't get into the main, but there's nothing to see there, not yet.
Always nice when you can get into the main, because you can say, oh, did you get an evolution chamber? Are you going for a lair or doing something a little bit tricky like that? But like you said, nothing really happening so far.
He goes into the main, he sees the lair's already done. He's like, oh my god, he presses the F11.
There's an infestation pit down. It's like, people don't play this kind of
This isn't Nerchio. He pulls the mask off. It's Bly! He detonated bailing on the larva there. That's cute. Grabs a few drones. Nerchio, nice little pick off there.
3 drones is definitely not too bad. And we do see that Elazer makes his way into the main base, so he does actually confirm, okay, I don't really see a whole lot else. I think he should have also noticed the evolution chamber at the front as he was running around. Yep, did end up spotting that out. So he's going to know, okay, probably good chance. There's +1 missile attack on the way. If you're going to go for characters or melee, you get that a lot earlier on. So they're going to know this is just going straight up into those Roach Wars.
Yeah.
Very, very gentlemanly agreement.
As is tradition. Both of these players strike me as Roach builders in ZvZ. Nerchio's not one to like shy away. It's not like either player really like shy away from it too much, but you're also like, you know, it's the first map, kind of feeling things out, making sure you're feeling well. In my mind, I always try to think about the fact that it's early, but then I'm like, no, it's really not for these guys.
Yeah, what has Nerchio actually seen so far? He's going to make his way over to the main base. This is the first scout he's getting in the main base.
His lairs on the way. Now, keep in mind, Nerchio does not have that. Or excuse me, he's got his is already done. And his Spire is starting up early. So he's like, well, if you were to try to go for like the Mega Roach timing, since the lair is now finished, that's the biggest concern when you're going for Spire, is you don't want to get railroaded by a bunch of roaches just pushing straight through the natural and like just killing you. Oftentimes when you scout like that attack coming in, you'll see the Zerg player drop like 5 or 6 spine crawlers, and then depending on when they get them, it's like if they either barely don't finish when the roaches arrive and you lose, or they all barely finish when the roaches arrive and you win.
Okay, well, Elazer's been very good about getting the scouts off with those lings moving forward, and this time he's gonna have Overlord speed finished up. He's moving into the main base, and he's actually also just morphed to drop Overlord, so he's going to be able to load up some queens or some roaches as he sees the Spire is now about to finish. He should be in a position where if he wants to, he can potentially try and get some damage done, but his army supply isn't going to be that much larger than his opponent's.
No. He has a bit more of that supply cap available, but you know the nice thing about this Ling poking is that you're also kind of making sure that your opponent stays at home, and that's really nice because we didn't have to see the bunch of spines, we didn't see the really defensive play come out of Nerchio. He just goes straight into the Mutalisks, and even though that Hydralisk Den's coming in, just having those mutas to clean up any Overlords that are on the map and just be a general nuisance. Keep the Hydras at home, maybe kind of force him into considering a different strategy that might come out of Nerchio later on.
I am so happy that Elazer's actually pulling back his Overlords. I feel as though so many Zerg players, and I'm never 100% sure why, but so many Zerg players will see, oh yeah, there's a Spire coming, and they just won't pull their Overlords back. And Elazer's going to be able to keep all of those alive, and like you said, that little bit of damage that Nerchio is probably relying on being able to get, with just like guaranteed damage with some of those mutas, not really going to be happening.
Nope.
I say as an Overlord dice.
Well,
it's just one.
At least it's not, yeah. It's just the one Overlord,
it's just one.
actually.
For now.
So the Lurker Den starts up for Nerchio. So he's like, I'm going to get mutas, but I'm not going to do like this Hydra memery like you are. Not the same way. I'm going to go straight into the Lurkers. As the roaches clean up those lings, you do not see the Lurker Den there, I don't think.
No.
I think it seemed like those lings just kind of stopped at that. A couple of drones do get snagged up over here. He doesn't know about the Lurker Den. So this is where you see it. The roaches actually, Nerchio using all of the tools in his box right now, poking this base with the roaches.
This is a lot of roaches.
Big attack. He's like, how do you get this many roaches when you go mutas anyway? Like, that's just...
Well, I think that Elazer had a handful of his roaches and hydras over by his 4th base, because there were some lings over there as well, but maybe overcommitted a few too many defenses on that location, so ends up only losing 2 lings, but oh, some mutas that are keeping a lot of these units busy.
Yeah, I feel the mutas go down. That one's got no health.
Only lost 1, though.
Okay. He didn't really commit to it a lot.
Yeah.
It's like fake out mutas.
But just keeping 4 or 5 mutas is still nice, because it keeps your opponent at least somewhat honest. They can still try and go in, get some kills.
In a ZvZ where both players, you know, it's like people usually slam the gas pedal on roaches, you're saying, hey, your army can't really deal with this, and if you want to have anti-air in your army, it's going to be hard for you to move out of your base, because your spores or your queens aren't going to reposition as easily, and these handful of mutas can cope that.
Yeah, trying to take care of some of these overlords around the map. Gonna miss opportunity, get the crystal vial down on that, but there we go. Once again, the mutas just come back in, killing off 3 workers. If they escape out of here alive, it's small little bits of annoyance here that he can not only do that harassment, but he's also just keeping an eye on his opponent's army.
Well, look what it buys time for, Fear Dragon. Lurkers are coming out, more hydras are being added, +2 attacks about to finish. These things were not ready a few moments ago when the Mutalisks pulled the whole entire army back. So this is just some smart play out of Nerchio, which we expect.
+2 missile attack, not quite done for Nerchio just yet, though, and it is very much done for Elazer as well as +1 Carapace. So this is going to be a bit of a tough engagement for Nerchio, but he's relying on those Lurkers. There's only 2 of them out so far, though, so the Corrosive Biles from the Ravagers could very well deal with them.
Yeah, I'd like to see those Lurkers spread out just a little bit, too. You don't want to eat a bile just between the 2 of them, and interestingly enough, not repositioning those Lurkers at all.
Yeah, little focus on the mutas, I think, for a moment, which were harassing over on the south side of the map, but now the Lurkers not really getting involved in the fight until just now they reburrow. The hatchery is nearly dead, and the Lurkers, they are dodging out of those Corrosive Biles, and by dodging, I mean the Corrosive Biles are not quite landing on them.
Yeah, I mean, the Biles haven't been thrown at them, and the Lurkers did help trim a lot of the fat on this army. I will say that much. We have 25 roaches being added right now for Nerchio as his +1 Carapace is on the way, and Elazer fighting at the bottom of this ramp. He does have the better upgrades. As long as he stays away from the Lurkers, he should be able to do a good job against this, and here the Lurkers are going to come rejoin with reinforcements.
Yeah, the reinforcements for Nerchio going to be able to push Elazer fully back. I think that now, finally, as everything has been cleaned up, we end up seeing, well, the mutas were somewhere. Oh, the mutas just go down. I think they just got taken out or something.
Yeah, probably just like chucked him away.
Yeah,
he was trying to hit the Overseers with them earlier.
Yeah.
Denying the detection would be really nice there, of course.
Okay, well, Nerchio may be positioned to try and move across the map, but we do see that there's a larger army supply here for Elazer, who is still only halfway done with his Lurker Den. But again, there really weren't that many Lurkers just yet. Only now we're seeing 4 more Lurkers being added on here for Nerchio. So there's still a little bit of time for Elazer to kind of sit back, try and move around the map, keep Nerchio busy for another 20 or 30 seconds before he can get up his own Lurkers.
Yeah, and then it's our ZvZ turns a little bit into that Marine tank vibe going on, using the Lurkers, controlling the zone, getting as many of them as you can, and those Biles get down. Great pick off there. Yeah, running 4 Lurkers.
Overseer's here too. He can actually engage these.
Running out into the open with your Lurkers, it's a dangerous move to make, as another fight does take place in the center position, and a lot of the forces for Elazer are going to get caught here. Still has to awkwardly deal with that counterattack back at his base, but the Lurkers are able to burrow there finally. And it looks like Nerchio is going to clean up most of what's here. He really wants to get onto those Hydralisks on the right side, and that's a great grab.
Yeah, oh man, Elazer, if he had been able to find an opportunity to get a little bit more aggressive on top of the base instead of just trying to move into the Lurker Den. And of course, he was controlling on 2 different sides, so I don't blame him that much. But I think that he could have maybe even gotten a cancel or a kill on that other 4th base, because there just weren't that many units there for Nerchio. It was just the Lurkers really holding the line. Yeah,
and at this point, like, it gets tricky because you get into Lurker versus Lurker, and then you're like, well, man, I'd really like to be able to get up a hive or something, which, well, neither player seems like they're anywhere near being able to do that. We don't have the infestation pit for either of them at this time. That burrow, the burrow upgrade of the lurker is perhaps one of the most gnarly things you'll ever see. Oh, push straight up, showing no fear. Great target fire on the Overseer though. The detection removed from the fight for Nerchio. He's got to get another Overseer over here. He wants to attack into those lurkers.
Yeah, 2 of the lurkers got focus fire down before they even managed to burrow. And at the same time, Elazer pushes in with a handful of roaches over at the other base. These roaches and the queen are all going to go down. Reinforcements are going to have to rally over there instead of to the main fight that's going to be happening over to the right-hand side of the map.
And really good counterattack play here by Elazer. He finally takes a commanding bit of a lead in terms of the supply. He's gotten the map control now, grabbing a lot more of Nerchio's units that are incorrectly rallied across the map. And let's not forget, those lurkers are on their way with Elazer has 5 to the 4 of Nerchio, but he's got more roaches, he's got more hydras, and that detection ended up hurting him a lot on that fight on the southeast side.
Here we go, lurkers burrowing aggressively here for Elazer, but not quite able to get into a safe spot. Now that they're finally burrowed a couple of them further back, they are managing to tear through the roaches and the hydras of Nerchio, but unfortunately, they're just not going to survive long enough. There's not enough meat to this army, so Elazer looks like he's going to eventually get pushed back.
Yeah, but I mean, he's definitely done an insane amount of damage. He's got this great push on the left side. We can see, yeah, Nerchio's just going to tap out. GG, Elazer takes game number 1.
Really, really well done there by Elazer, and I feel like it was just small little victories in those little engagements where he'd find bits and pieces of, oh, you know, I sniped off a couple of these lurkers, so I managed to come out just a handful of roaches ahead, or I managed to, even though I lose a lot of my army, I still managed to pick off like one of your bases. So it's kind of like trades back and forth, but Elazer just getting slight edges every time until it adds up to a victory.
I didn't like hate what Nerchio was doing all game
long,
but eventually things just kind of like turned against him. Some of the lurker positioning was questionable.
Just got super aggressive with those lurkers.
Yeah, giving away the one lurker in the middle of the map. Like, lurkers are units that scale in that weird way where it's like 1 or 2 lurkers in your army does have a nice impact. But at that point, like, to get past the value of 1 to 2 is like we want to get up to like 6 or 7 lurkers, and then your army's starting to like 2 or 3 shot like the entirety of what the enemy has.
I mean, it was the lurker in the middle of the map when his lurkers were trying to rally forward to the rest of the army. There was the 2 lurkers, or sorry, he burrowed forward over at Elazer's 4th base with 4 lurkers, and then he just loses 2 of them because they're at the very front line and they get target fired down with some really good focus fire from Elazer, by the way. But it's all of that adds up, and you can imagine if in that last fight he does have an extra 3 or 4 lurkers, that probably does look very different.
This doesn't get talked about enough, but ever since they did that patch, for whatever reason, with the Overseers being able to pop themselves up and get further vision, I mean, moving his Overseer so far forward ahead of his army was also a little bit questionable since he only had 1 in that fight on that southeast base. It immediately got picked off, and he's like, I can't do anything. His lurkers were in range of the other ones, but he couldn't even fight. And
using the pop-up vision,
it's small stuff like that. Yeah, you could put it. You mean you could put the Overseer behind your lurkers, and then the Overseer when it sieges has something like 14 vision or something. I think
it's pretty high.
Big.
I think that, I mean, the other side of it though is that if at the end of the engagement you're in the middle of retreating and you're probably focused on trying to gather up all your
there's
units
a whole lot of
then
stuff.
Then it's like, oh well, then now the Overseer's just kind of sitting duck there as it gets sent off there.
I'm not hating. I'm just saying there's a couple of small things that would have helped a lot. Whether he could or could have not done them, it's just I'm just trying to look for a couple of things as we load into game number 2.
Okay, map is going to be Dreamcatcher as we start to spawn on in and see how things are going to go. All right, up at the top left-hand corner of the map, it is our blue Zerg player from Team Clash and send up 1-0. It is Elazer.
And he faces off against our red Zerg player in the southeast position. He is Nerchio. Team Iron Chain.
Okay. Well.
Good times, Dragon.
Yeah. You know what's kind of funny? These guys, I mentioned before in the last game that these guys have a long history against each other. Nerchio has won twice as many games against Elazer as Elazer has won versus Nerchio. And Nerchio has also won almost 3 times as many series against Elazer as Elazer has won versus Nerchio. So Nerchio just leads up a lot in the history, but these days I do feel like Elazer is still the stronger player.
Getting more on the hype train lately, you know.
Yeah.
Nerchio's considered one of the older crowd now for Starcraft.
Yeah.
Things have been changing as
both of these players have had a bit of a rougher year, but I think they both have kind of started turning around again.
Well, you know, if you really think about it, the stock of European Zergs has just dropped off so hard because of Cyril. He's just so much better than everybody else. Like,
He's just a comparison point.
yeah. Think about it. Think about it. Last year, what foreign Protoss like really were like blowing your mind. Everyone was talking about Neeb. Neeb took all the spotlight away from guys like Showtime, where people were like, well, it's like he didn't have as good a year. It's like, well, he was still there. He was still competing and doing his, you know, doing reasonably well. Like, Showtime didn't have a bad year last year, but you would think so, considering that the only person no one would shut up about was Neeb. And that, for this year, that is definitely part of the Cyril effect, because he also, like, nobody plays like him.
I've really enjoyed the EU versus NA kind of debates ever since Cyril came up also, because I remember during all the NA stuff, it's like, oh, you know, NA is just really not that good. And like, what about Neeb? It's like, Neeb doesn't count. And it was like, everyone's so much worse than Neeb. And now it's like the exact same thing, but the opposite happening for Europe, where people are saying, oh, you know, Europe, it's like, Cyril's really good. It's like, oh, well, you know, there's other people here besides Cyril. It's like, yeah, but it's really Cyril right now, right?
The advantage that the European scene has always had is just how much closer everything is together. The idea of getting across Europe is actually not that crazy, whereas
everyone's
trying to attend a tournament on the other side of the United States, there's actually not a lot of very easy ways for you to do that. So.
Oh my God, Zombie Girl was telling me, she was like calculating things with her miles and stuff on Korean Air. She's like, you know, I can go to Korea and back for like $220 now. I'm like, it costs me $400, $500 to get to the East Coast to go to like a Cheesadelphia or something. You're telling me you can go to Korea for $400?
If you're in Europe, then you get like a 50 or 60 euro ICE ticket.
We got a lot of links coming out for Nerchio. A lot of them. This third. I think this might
talk about the game, guys. Don't care about NA and E in StarCraft.
Elazer did make a big round of drones, but he does have a Baneling Nest, so that is going to be the saving grace here for him. He's also up about 9 workers, so if we can get away with all of this, it's going to be an okay spot. Third base,
Denial, shut it down.
Do you think that's enough damage for him? He's still down a lot of workers.
Well, he's going to force, I don't know if it's going to be an equal and opposite reaction, but it's a lot of Zerglings coming out of Elazer now. And Elazer does have Banelings, so he's had a few Banes active. Nerchio just kind of did that. He went to his Roach Warren, and I guess from how it looks, he's going to do a big Roach attack now.
I'm a little surprised that the Roach Warren wasn't part of the wall, just to help defend against a big potential counterattack, because that's a pretty common thing that you'll end up facing against a lot of speedlings across the map or something.
Yeah, it's questionable, because there's also Banelings for Elazer, so you kind of want to be able to block off if you could. Nerchio does not even have a Baneling nest. There's a lot of questions on
these are buying so much time here for Nerchio, though.
Is Nerchio sending his roaches across the map yet? Is he doing that? What's he done with them?
Just chilling at home.
Oh, he's building a lot more links behind this. All right, he's going to try to smack that third down again.
Oh, awkward. 2 lings pulling an entire Trimitar line off the fight.
The drones engaging in fisticuffs.
All right, well, they're going to continue to be annoying until they eventually get pecked off here, but that does give Elazer some pretty solid scouting, saying, okay, you really aren't actually droning right now. You're just making more units. So he's going to know he has nothing to do but to make more units himself.
Yeah, this is a great base grab over here in the northeast, being able to pick off that hatchery. Again, it is weird because, like you said, Fear Dragon, he still doesn't have more workers. So the 2 bases that he does have are not necessarily giving him like some sort of crazy advantage over Elazer.
But he's also making pure lings, and the extra base would have been so nice for Larva.
That is a fair point to bring up. The Larva injections off of that base, definitely nice. And now Nerchio has, by the way, finally vaulted himself forward in terms of the work he started his lair. He's forced out that spine.
Able to pick off 4 workers as well, really securing a bit more of that worker lead. And, well, all the Roaches managed to survive there. So, for the most part, Nerchio is in a pretty fine defensive spot. It's not like, oh, you know, there's this big Roach counterattack or something from Elazer with all the units he made, and Nerchio lost off his army. No, he kept a majority of the important units alive there. So he's fine on the defensive.
Yeah. Queens are coming out to try and grab that Overlord. I wonder if is he gonna bring the rest of his units back out over here. Grabbing those queens would be pretty gnarly.
No, I don't think there's enough lings left over. There's only 8 lings on the map now.
Yeah, you know what? There aren't 8 of Elazer's lings because those bad boys are running over to the natural.
Ooh.
These roaches are gonna get surrounded.
Not bad. Right before +1 missile attack also finishes up, so they are not able to 2-shot those lings. Handful of them go down. Elazer just trying to find some cost-efficient trades to utilize these lings before they kind of meet their maker.
There's roach speed. There's +2 attack now, starting for Elazer.
A little bit of that ling run by over here. Gonna sneak his way into the main base, get some scouting information.
Cheeky, just that one queen there. These lings running around doing scouting, trying to get some.
Gets one drone kill. Gets one of them. Not bad. But
another big round of drones for Nerchio out behind this, as he's got his roach speed started up too.
Yeah, he is going to be able to secure a little bit more of a worker lead as he's still sitting up about 10. Now, Elazer, of course, is still joining himself, so we're going to see him get pretty close to caught up. But I feel like there is this slight little lead here for Nerchio off of that killing of the third, I would say.
Yeah. No other additional tech options from what we can see. Overlord speed for Elazer. But no Hydralisk Den coming in quick, no Spire this time around from Nerchio. So it looks like we're just going to see a good old Roach v. Roach.
Good old Roach v. Roach.
Nothing better than watching roaches spew all over each other in a ZvZ Fear Dragon.
Yeah. One of the things that we kind of saw a little bit of was that Roach Burrow play from Serral versus Namshar earlier today, but I love that kind of Roach counterattacking, especially with Burrow on this map especially, because you start looking, both these players trying to grab their 4th bases. Let me tell you something, Nate. When roaches come in from the far left-hand side and your roaches are all in the top right trying to deal with some kind of random counterattack and your rocks aren't being knocked down, it's one of the most frustrating things to deal with. And I think that Elazer agrees with me at least a little bit, as he's getting up Burrow, he's getting up Tunneling Claws, and I really like it.
Yeah, good presence with the lings, but they are getting picked off. Tunneling Claws is just, I mean, the thing that it doesn't get discussed enough, but there is a benefit to this upgrade other than just getting the ability to run around and try and snipe bases or hide from your opponent. The health regen on the roach is insane. Like, you can take a huge fight, you can try to micro individual roaches back, but like you can take a huge fight and then simultaneously, right after the fight is done, or like during the fight, you just burrow parts of your army and they regen so quickly.
Okay, roaches have knocked down those rocks and not really going to be able to commit through the choke point. And ooh, Elazer getting a little too far ahead of himself with a handful of these scouting roaches. He is going for his own counterattack with some of those lings he still left over. Kills off 6 workers, holy cow. It's a good bit of damage, but he's going to be looking for a little bit more counter damage
Nerchio
now.
pushes in right as his +2 attack finishes up. He wants to force the fight here on Elazer's base. Now Tunneling Claws has completed. He could try and do a little bit of cute burrow plays if he feels.
I don't even think that he needs it right now. He's starting to pretty much dominate this engagement. It feels like a couple of Corrosive Bowels, though, are going to start making things look a little bit better here for Elazer. The Queen DPS added in, as well as a Defender's Advantage.
Transfusion's
looks like
helped a bit too.
Wow.
Yeah, not bad. Elazer. He's killing it so far today.
He started that engagement down about 20 army supply and roaches. And
Look at that Ravager on the tail end of that fight, too.
Yeah.
And you know what the thing is? Like, you look at this now, you're like, well, look at that one red health roach. You're either going to pay to upgrade that bad boy, or you're going to have to use some queen energy. You know what Elazer could do? Press the R key, baby.
Turn into a Ravager.
Take a chill pill underground.
The natural transfuse.
Yeah. This was healing as Mother Nature intended it.
Yeah. None of that artificial queen transfusion.
Yeah. This is these are some USDA prime, grass-fed, organic, non-GMO roaches over here. All right, these bad boys heal on their own. They don't need nobody pumping them full of transfuses. They are good to go, and they are unburrowing inside of that main base. We're going to see that queen get slaughtered. And the big push on the west side.
Yep, a little bit of an attack on that side. I think there's also some roaches that are trying to get ready to move into that other top right-hand base. At the same time he pushes over here, Elazer seems to have some pretty solid numbers against Nerchio.
Yeah, this is where you just start to see Elazer did this in the last game, where he just starts to snowball things in his favor. Nerchio finds himself constantly on the back foot. And to what end, Fear Dragon? What is Nerchio waiting for?
Oh,
It's going to buy him out of this position. I don't know. 31 drones have been picked off. He's cleaned up the economy to a drastic degree. A bunch of spine crawlers made to try and deal with the counterattack as the Ro8 is going to get picked off by Nerchio. But his army back home is riding the struggle bus. And these roaches, at the end of the day, can always be micro, can always be burrowed. Assuming he doesn't lose all of them. He is eating a lot of
losing a lot of them right now. Elazer still has a good supply advantage right now. He's building a lot of spines over in the main base.
That's it, GG. Elazer goes up 2-0.
Nate, did we curse it? Did we? Are we
Yes.
gonna get? Are we
Yes,
gonna
we
get
did.
a bunch of 3-0s?
I blame you, Fear Dragon. Completely blame you guys.
This would actually be my fault
You'll
if
make
this does
your
happen.
Angry Reddit thread. Fear Dragon curses WCS Challenger to
Oh.
3-0s all day.
So I've been told that there is a Fear Dragon curse, but apparently it's only for NA players. I
think
have no
that's
power over
a curse
EU.
that applies to anybody who wants NA players to succeed. That's how it
Feels bad. Well, no, the,
Because I was going to say, I have
part
the
of the
same curse.
part of the problem is that it's NA players, but it's also when I'm cheering for a particular NA player versus another NA player even. That's also when things just go horribly wrong.
It's the NA rule. It's that any NA player can beat any other NA player on any given day.
It's so true. It's so true. In a world where Poke Bunny can take maps off of Neeb, anything is possible.
Are you talking about that game where he like proxy
That was
nexus him on?
That was
Neon
actually the
Violet Square?
stupidest game I've ever seen
It was
Neeb
a
play.
terrible game.
You know what the funny thing is?
I don't
That's
think Neeb
the
was even awake.
second time I've seen that happen before.
I don't think Neeb was even awake for that map.
That's the second time I've seen Neeb lose a game exactly that way.
You
For
can
those
tell
who are
we're
wondering,
really jonesed about this ZvZ, guys. So
we
much to
find a
break
way to
down.
talk about a Terran versus Protoss in his
And
ZvZ.
NA players during EU Challenger.
I know. Yeah.
Well, let's be fair. We don't know who's going to win NA Challenger.
This is very fair. But ladies and gentlemen, the last game, honestly, it was still really, really close. And I think there was also that point where Nerchio was up a decent amount of supply. I really thought he was actually going to win one of those big pushes over by Elazer's fourth base.
Yeah. I thought the big attack was going to get him on the northwest. Yeah, right when Burrow finished.
Yeah.
He landed a few sick dials, though. The Queen transfuses were on point. Yeah, it was good. We're loaded in to our third map, potentially the final one, if this guy doesn't have something to say about it. In the northeast, he's our Red Zerg player. He is Nerchio.
And spine down here in the bottom left-hand corner of the map, we have our blue Zerg player sitting up 2-0. He has Team Clash's Elazer. All right, Nate.
Elazer playing well today.
Yeah, he's playing really, really
Talk
well.
to me, Fear Dragon.
I was going to say, the curse is broken because we talked about the fact that the curse existed, so now that thereby dissipates the curse. Because now we're predicting a 3-0.
Yeah, but saying that to counter jinx yourself invites the karma of still.
If we just make it confusing enough, then we can just say that the curse is broken.
No.
Because we can say that whatever situation got left off at. If you're not sure anymore if we've cursed it to be a 3-0 or not a 3-0. Is there a curse?
I don't know. Let's talk about the meta of dropping cyclones onto Tech Labs researching clone.
You want to talk?
more
You want to talk about TVT and ZvZ? Let's just get through all the other matchups.
Yeah.
No.
No. It's Immortal dropping.
Immortal
dropping Tech Labs researching clone. That's what the entire game centers around these days, I've heard. So I've been told.
So I've been told that the highest level of StarCraft has devolved down to proxying.
Yes. Yes, actually, that's exactly it.
Okay. Well, no proxy is going to be happening in a ZvZ.
I've watched Pig stream Fear Dragon. I've seen him. This sick puppy runs queens across the map with a drone escort. He starts a hatch, he cancels it, he builds a creep tumor, and then he proxies spine rushes Zerg players. Okay, I've seen it. As we all know, everything that you see on Twitch is not only viable, it's the best strategy that you could possibly do.
I mean, if that were the case, then mass blink DTs would actually be a viable thing, as would mass Widowmine from In Control stream.
Hey man, it's been used in pro games and it's won before. Just ask Gumiho. Poor dude.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah, he's got
I
wrecked
forgot
by
about
that. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we got the initial Lings making their way across the map. Both these players are going to be doing, for the most part, pretty mirrored builds. We'll see when they decide to grab their thirds. We already have one coming down here for Nerchio, and there it is for Elazer. Same location and everything. No big surprises here.
Nah. So these Lings are just going to have a little fun. Nothing's going to really happen there.
They're showing each other respect, though. They're both going for the Baneling Nest, which can be a bit more of that defensive move of saying, hey, you know, I'm gonna at least try and make sure that you don't do anything super aggressive to me. I don't want to just die to something.
Yeah, I don't think either of them want to just die, so good point. Elazer's got a very nice position, being up 2-0. It behooves him to play the best game he can possibly play here so that he doesn't have to do any more after this. Whereas Nerchio has to win 3 games in a row right now.
That's the really tough part. Winning 3 games in a row versus a player like Elazer, who's it's just anytime you go down 0-2 versus someone, you're like, okay, now win 3 games in a row versus that player that just 2-0'd you so far. If this was a best of 3, you already would have lost to them.
No, that's a hard. I'm gonna have to. It's gonna be a no from me, dog.
Not fun. Okay, Evolution Chambers coming down for both these players as well. They are still on that Ling Bane phase, so we might just be seeing +1 missile attack coming out, and there it is for Nerchio.
Yeah.
I imagine same thing for Elazer, but you know, every once in a blue moon, you get something a little weird where they say, even though this upgrade's kind of late, I'm gonna just see if I can make something happen.
Something that stands out to me about a player like Cyril is that this sort of situation doesn't happen as much with him, and he's actually like strangely similar to the NA type of Zerg play. You know, we see a lot more of those rambunctious kind of out there setups, the early melee or the early carapace for the Lings. But Nerchio and Elazer have been playing fairly straight-laced ZvZ, lots of roaches, a little bit of aggro here and there. That last game was a great example, but Elazer's just been edging at the big fights in such a nice way, in the big army movement and control. You know, we talk about how the lurkers getting caught in the first map, and then Elazer somehow getting like beautiful enough transfuses to turn the tide to that fight in the last game. Stuff like that is huge.
Yeah.
But Nerchio's still doing a good job with the small details. The big fights have been where he's been struggling, losing units carelessly.
It's so weird too, right? Because I feel as though that big fights used to be the #1 thing that people would always cite Nerchio as being exceptional at, getting the great concaves, getting good positioning and everything, setting up the situations, and almost, I would say, having this weird superpower where you could make fights that he should be losing, given his tech, still go in his favor.
Yeah, that
wow.
was from Elazer.
So close to almost making it work, but ends up losing it.
About as much time as he could there, and now the rest of these Lings come in because that queen is dead. The roaches are finishing up though, so he's not gonna be like, he's not gonna hit the jackpot on this, but this is, that's painful for Nerchio, by the way, because you're like, oh, we're both on 3 bases, and you show up and it's like, oh my god, this dude's 4th is halfway done? What?
Yeah, starts up his own now.
You didn't tell me we were taking 4th bases.
I thought we were doing the Ling Bane stuff a little longer.
No.
Both these players are getting up their Roach Warren, or have their Roach Warrens finished up and are starting to get up Roaches in larger numbers.
Hydralisk Den for Nerchio.
As well as a second Evo.
Yeah.
So going to be setting up that +1 carapace. I think it was in, oh man, it was game 1. I can't remember which one of these. One of these players was going for 2-1 and one of the other players just went for just 2-0. I think it actually was Nerchio who was getting up the carapace upgrade, and Elazer was just completely skipping it.
Yeah. Carapace, those are the types of things that people are always like, well, yeah, the attack upgrade's most important because the Roach gets +2 per attack, only gets +1 for armor. But when you get those big fights and things start to scale, just 1 or 2 extra hits, even when it takes like 11 or 12 hits for a Roach to kill another Roach, when you've got enough Roaches that you get to either one-shotting or you have to 2-shot, because these units are not hit scan, it gets really tough. Good Ling run buys to grab the queen so far in this game.
I love
Nerchio.
this. Look at that. He splits off a handful of those Lings to go take care of the queens and distract the Roaches. The rest of the Lings go after the drones. At the same time, though, Elazer is pushing forward, and this is a lot of Roaches for Nerchio to deal with.
Yeah, he's just dead.
All right.
Wow. As in Control would say.
Elazer goes for the big push across the map, and there's just not enough there for Nerchio.
Nerchio's harass was cool, but you know what Elazer did? Elazer channeled the great spirit of a once all-powerful Starcraft deity, and he's like, my opponent is doing something strange, I will just go kill him. And then he killed him.
It works.
And
it does
he
work.
advanced on. He did.
3-0. All right.
Great. It's been 3-0. 3-0's all the way down.
We actually had 3 zeros for every single quarterfinal match.
Yeah. Well, technically we're 4-0 for 3 zeros today. So.
We're four. You know, that is an optimistic way of looking at it.